19. Protestantism and Revolution. All Protestantism is, of itself, revolutionist. I do not say all Protestants, but all Protestantism, for I know very well that man is not always so consistent as to make his actions harmonize with his belief. Often, he is worth more for what he does than for what he thinks. As we unfortunately meet mad revolutionists among Catholics, so do we meet Protestants who are sincere lovers of order. But here we do not deal with Protestants, but with Protestantism, and I say it again, all Protestantism is revolutionist. Whilst Catholicity is a submission of heart and mind to the authority of the Church, Protestantism is the negation of all authority in matters of religion. Now, if we once admit the principle that man should not acknowledge any religious authority, is it not a simple, natural, and logical inference that he is no more bound to acknowledge a political or civil authority? Why should not those who have refused obedience to the Church refuse also obedience to the state? Protestantism, that is, the rebellion against religious authority, contains in its bowels the seeds of rebellion against all political authority. The history of Protestantism gives a most luminous proof of this truth. Wherever it was proclaimed, its first appeal to Christians to revolt against the Pope was immediately succeeded by an appeal to the nations to rebel against their sovereigns. The very tongues of the leaders of the Reformation, who uttered these atrocious blasphemies against the head of the Church, belched forth afterward the bloodiest insults against the heads of the state. For such geniuses of disorder, whilst the sovereign pontiff was only a tyrant, princes were monsters, and the religious wars, which in those wretched days covered with blood the fields of Germany, England, and France, were not, after all, but wars of revolution. Bottom of the page note. Our American readers are greatly mistaken if they believe for one moment that the present wars in Italy are actually waged for the sake of liberty. End of the page note. Since then, Protestantism has ever sympathized with rebellions, and every rebellion has given to Protestantism its most unequivocal testimony of sympathy. Protestantism has ever been radically revolutionist, as every rebellion has essentially been Protestant. The spirit of rebellion, which within a few years past has convulsed certain Catholic countries, was begotten in the bosom of Protestant peoples. It is since the Reformation has failed to upset the altar that thrones have been shaken to their foundation. The Revolution of Catholic France was only a bloody repetition of the Revolution of Protestant England. English Protestantism can alone claim the glory of having introduced into Christian Europe the pagan fashion of assassinating kings juridically. Having this common origin, Protestantism and Revolution meet together in one mass. Honest Protestants, it is true, repel such a union, which frightens them. Yet it is accomplished by a sort of fatality, such as influenced the principle of the Reformation, and the most outspoken organs of socialism proclaim it most loudly. Quinet writes, "I address myself to all beliefs, to all religions, who have fought Rome. They are all, whether they will it or not, on our side, for, after all, their existence is as irreconcilable as ours with the rule of Rome." Louis Blanc says, "Every religious Luther necessarily avers a Luther political." Mazzini Garibaldi and those other adventurers who some years ago held under an ignoble yoke the capital of the Christian world found no better means to give root to and make a social revolution thrive in Italy than by introducing Protestantism. Thousands of falsified, spurious Bibles were distributed in Rome, and a project was on foot to give to Protestants the Church of the Pantheon in the very heart of Rome. In 1850, Garibaldi said to the Protestant minister Pozzi, while entrusting the education of his son to him, "The Bible is the canon that will open Italy to us." However, the shameless publications of modern revolutionists are open to the inspection of Protestants as they are to us. Let them examine them. With a unanimous voice, the revolutionists applaud Protestantism, the religious form of revolution. It is a fact well worth the study of serious men. It is a fact undeniable and public. Such as are indifferent to the sacred interest of faith should feel some anxiety about the dangers which threaten the domestic hearth. Socialism is only a Protestantism against society, as Protestantism is socialism against the Church.